Thank you. I have noticed in the last couple weeks in particular, I've been watching videos of, I've noticed horse slaughter and animals being killed, and it bothers me. It bothers me a lot. And
Watch.
Well,
Do you look at roadkill also?
I do, actually. But I think the idea is that I have around me animals that I love very much, and I feel as though I'm an ambassador to the universe, and I want to take good care of it. So I guess
Well, if you are an ambassador for anyone, don't look at videos that make you feel awful. That's not the way you promote what you want. It might be the way that you exaggerate what you want, but in the moment of giving your attention to things that are so upsetting to you, you are not promoting something that you want. You cannot promote improvement by holding yourself in experiences that make you feel discord. Your guidance is giving you that indication. This feels bad because it's not helpful. This feels bad because it's not helpful. This feels bad because it's not helpful. This feels bad because it's not helpful.
I don't watch them over and over again. I just watch them. I just wanted to. The reason I thought they were helpful is to educate me about what is happening so that I can do something positive.
Well, there is something in that. In other words, when you know what you don't want, you know what you do want.
Right.
So if you said, last week I saw a video that was very upsetting to me, and it caused me to clarify what I'm wanting, and ever since then I've written this book about what I want and why I want it, and I've brought myself to such a place of exhilaration, then we would say that video served you really well, didn't it? It inspired you to what you want, and you were wise enough to turn your undivided attention toward what you want, and now the entire world is in a better place because you've shined a spotlight on the improvement, and you can tell by the improved way you feel that you've helped, you see. That isn't the way it sounded as you were telling the story, however.
I was a little nervous. So as a added note on that, is the issue of being a vegetarian or not being a vegetarian, you know, eating meat or not. I mean, I think about these things because I think...
Oh, yes, we think everyone should be a vegetarian. We just can't convince the lion. We give him bananas, we give him berries, we give him grass, we give him grain, and still he wants the lamb. Sarcasm doesn't become us either, does it? In other words, even if you could find enough influence to get legislation and enforcement to stop all people from eating meat, you will never get the big fish to stop eating the little fish, or the lion from eating the gazelle. In other words, it is just this process of life. And the beasts come forth knowing that they are part of the process and not bothered by it at all, because they, unlike humans, are not uncomfortable with the idea of death. In other words, they know that they are consciousness, and they romp in a body and then they croak, and then they romp in a body and then they croak, and they romp in a body and then they croak, and the croaking is so uneventful for them. Jerry and Esther, we told you about the chickens they had. They had a chicken that they named Renegade because she would not stay on the 5 acres that they had set out for her. She wanted to be on the 5 acres next door, and so she kept jumping the fence, and Esther would say, Renegade, that's why they named her Renegade, there's a dog over there who would like to eat you for lunch. And Renegade said to Jerry and Esther on a regular basis, I would rather be free and be lunched than be confined and live long in this physical body. In other words, freedom really matters to me. So every day Renegade jumped the fence, and every day Esther would say, Renegade, you're really looking for trouble. Wouldn't you like the safety and security of this chicken yard? No, I prefer freedom, Renegade would say. And then one day Jerry felt something, sort of impulse, and he went out, and sure enough, the dog next door, a great big dog named Snuggles, had Renegade in her mouth. and Renegade was hanging like a limp rag. Snuggles was running across the yard all proud because he'd done what dogs do, and Renegade was hanging like a dead, limp rag. And Jerry shouted Snuggles' name, Snuggles! And Snuggles looked up in guilt because he knew better. He'd been trained to defy his natural animal instincts and to do what humans thought he should do. And he dropped Renegade. And Renegade hit the ground, shook herself off, and came home. And Esther said, Abraham, I thought Renegade was dead. And we said, no, she was just getting ready to be dead. Her consciousness had left. In other words, it seemed that the logical thing was that she was going to be lunch or at least fun. And so she just didn't stick around for the party. And then, when the rules of the game changed, she returned into her physical body. Just the way they all do. In other words, Renegade was not unhappy about the prospect of being lunch. Jerry and Esther said, we don't eat our chickens, we eat strangers' chickens. And if you want to talk about life, if you want to talk about the deliciousness of physical experience, and there is deliciousness in physical experience, then what about all of the animals that are alive today because they are going to be food? In other words, they're being bred for that. They come forth and have physical experience. And then humans say, oh, yes, but their physical experience isn't a very happy one. They're in cages or they are incarcerated in some way. And we say, every consciousness that comes forth knows what they're coming forth into, and if they didn't want to come, they would not come. It simply is something that you do not have to control. You can't control, and your effort at controlling it will make you mad. Just trust that well-being abounds and watch for evidence of it. So you don't see the new little animals being born going, no, no, not this again. They come forth, they are frisky, they romp, they're glad to be alive, and then they croak. And then they come forth and they're frisky and they romp and they're glad to be alive. In other words, they understand the process of life. They're not unhappy with it. Humans are so worried about death, you don't allow yourselves to live much.
I don't know if it's death, it's compassion. It's treating them with compassion while we're together.
Well, the thing about that is that so many of you have watched so many movies where the director of the movie has tried to put human characteristics over the beast, that you think that they feel the same way you would feel under given circumstances. But they are much smarter than you are in that regard. They're tuned in, tapped in, turned on. They are source energy, and they don't fret in the way you do, and they do not suffer in the way you apply suffering to them. They just don't. Now, Jerry and Esther will get letters about this, especially if Jerry is unwise enough to put it on one of the weekly or monthly recordings. People really want to struggle with this, but there is not a reason to. And if you'll step back and look at the, don't you find it remarkable that you continue to come forth, that your planet continues to remain in balance? The population of your planet is orchestrated from that broader non-physical perspective. The impulses and instincts and intuitiveness, that is the source energy. The beasts of your planet view the world through the eyes of source. They do. The beasts of your planet do. And if you could visit with any one of them, they would tell you every single time, I'm glad to have been here for as long as I'm here, and I'm not worried about my death experience, and I'll be right back. And they would also say to you, don't you spend one moment of your life wasting the joy that is you worried about me. That's what they would say. Okay. We're going to thread the needle. Stand if you think it's you. Not you, not you. Not you, you. Yes, yes. Don't take it personal. Aren't you enjoying the collage of questions that are coming forth?